Stampers, Ann here with card number 5 from my September online card club. One of the reasons I love doing the videos for my cards is because I can teach you some fun techniques that we used at my local clubs when we did these cards. Of course, the people who are in my online clubs get these videos along with the PDFs and their free card kits. Let me start by showing you some of the watercolor techniques that you can use if you're making a card like this. If you haven't done watercoloring, there's several different ways to do it, and there's no right and wrong, but I bet you'll settle into one that you are most comfortable with once you start doing it. I am going to use this little leaf stamp from our Vintage Leaves bundle, which is the stamp set of this particular month. I'm also going to use my water pen from Stampin' Up, which is called the Aqua Painter. If you're not familiar with this tool, when you order it, you get 2 of them in a pack. You undo this little cap and you fill the barrel with water. Then you just put the cap back on. One is a more of a thicker tip and one is a thin tip, but they work exactly the same. And the premise of it is, as the water comes down and gets near this tip, you just squeeze, and then that's how you move the water around on your inks. Okay, so I have our Stampin' Up watercolor paper. The first way you can do this is to actually put a little bit of water on the stamp. You don't want to drench it, because when you put it in your ink pad, you don't want your ink pad to get full of water. And then you just stamp right on your paper, and it's probably hard for you to see it on the camera, but right here there's just a little bit of the ink sort of shooting out. If you wanted more after using this technique, you just come back in with your water pen and add a little bit of the water where you want it to be, and see how that gives you more of the watercolor look. The next way to do it is, I'm going to just stamp off some of this ink, is to ink up your stamp and then come back in with the water and basically just lightly tap along. And you can see, let me hold it up here, you can see the water kind of puddling right here on the stamp. Then I'm going to stamp right back down, and look here and see how, oh my goodness, hang on just 1 second. I need to adjust my camera here so you can see it. There you go. See here, you can see a little bit more of the fine lines, and then the muddy part is just a little bit in the center. Okay, so let me ink that back up. Now the last way to color with your water pen is to just squeeze some of the water right onto your watercolor paper. The neat thing about watercolor paper is it's thicker, so it won't tear up and it won't ball up the paper once you start rubbing your pen across. Now that I've got the water on there, I'm going to ink up the stamp again, and then I'm going to just stamp it. And notice here, that last one, the water really spreads because there's more water on there by using the pen directly on the paper. You'll probably, as I was saying at the beginning of the video, one of these methods you will like better. I do find many of my customers prefer this method right here because you can see more of the leaf. Now, this one is more kind of a free form, but let me show you one step that you can do if you just happen to think, oh my gosh, that just looks like a big blob. I'm going to just blow on it to dry it off a little bit, and I think I will just, for purposes of this video, I'm going to just blot off some of the water so you'll be able to see what I'm going to do. Okay, now I'm going to come back in with my leaf full strength, and I'm going to stamp over where I just stamped. So see, in this you get a little bit of the watercolor there, and there would actually be more if you had used your heat tool or just set it aside to dry. But I hope you enjoy this watercoloring method with the aqua painter, and I'm going to be back here in just a minute, and I'm going to show you another technique where you use a spritz bottle. There I am. So can you see right here how that texture and the little fine lines on that leaf come back in? Now let me show you one other way to watercolor. You can just take a spritzer. In this case, it's my Stamp and Mist bottle, and I'm just going to spray the paper with water. Then do the same thing, ink up my stamp, come in and stamp the images. I'm going to stamp it 3 times so you can see how it looks differently when you've got the full strength, the medium, and the light. All right, so now we are going to actually do the stamping on the piece for our card. And what I'm going to do, just because it will be quicker, is I'm going to I'm going to spritz my paper. Then I'm going to come in with my stamp and stamp right here on the paper. You notice how it's curling a little bit. You don't need to worry about that at all. It will, when it dries, I'm going to add a little more water here. When it dries, it will flatten out, and you don't need to worry about that at all. Okay, now I'm going to come with that was Cherry Cobbler. I'm going to come back with my Delightful Dijon and just get, I think I want that up there. Then I'm going to come back with my green leaf here, get some color there and over here. All right, so you can see now how this is starting to separate. One thing you can do if you want to dry it really quickly so you can move on to the next step, you can take your heat tool and you can dry it, and it will dry very quickly. So again, I'm going to shut off the camera so I can dry this off, and then I'll be back to finish up the card. Okay, here we go. I'm back, and I'm going to complete this card now. I'm going to take my Early Espresso marker to actually put down the color on my dropping by to say hi stamp to give me this sentiment. You know, of course, you can stamp this with your ink pad, but I just wanted to show you also that you can easily just use a marker if you don't have your ink pad. Remoisten this because it is a water-based ink, so I want to make sure that it stamps crisply. Now, the last step of this card is we need to get these divided. So all you're going to do is you're going to put this into your trimmer, and you're going to cut it into thirds. So there's one, and I know right now you're going, oh no, you're cutting that beautiful stamped image. Well, not to worry, it is still going to be beautiful. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take my very vanilla piece right here, and I'm going to take a couple of dimensionals, and I'm going to put one on this piece, actually two on this piece. Some of you have asked me via email questions and my customers in person how I get my cardstock layers to be so even. Well, I have done a video on that, and if you just search the rest of my video playlist here on YouTube, you'll be able to see that as well, and you'll have all the measurements you need to do your layering on any number of layers on your cards. All right, so here comes our section number 2. We're going to get that right lined up right here. Isn't that fun? See here how there's a little kind of division in the middle, but it still looks so cool. And you know what? I see that I have just misplaced that a little. So I'm going to move this up just a scotch. And I love it when I make little boo-boos because you can see that anybody can become a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. You do not have to be perfect. You do not have to be totally creative, because we have so many ideas in our wonderful catalogs. And there we go. Doesn't that look cool now? Our finished product. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video today. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at ann@stampmaven.com, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the videos.